Hello, 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 beautiful people. How are you today? Good afternoon. This is Ashley Nicole with The Practical Life, and we're here today with another live. I hope you all are doing well. And as you can tell by the title, today we are going to get into it. Something that has recently been in the news, and it's pretty much, I think it's being considered as a shocker, but not really so much because as mental health professionals, we've been knowing this for so long. Um, and suspected this, right? So we'll get into it. But again, my name is Ashley Nicole. I hope you all are doing well. This channel is all about mental health, where you can get your questions answered related to mental health. I provide consultations regarding mental health. And I am a career coach. So if you all have any questions about how to strategize about your career, how to kind of get yourself to the next level, I do everything that runs the gamut as far as resumes, how to prepare for interviews, and make videos about it as well. So check those out. If you want to connect with me, all the information will be in the description box. So let's get into it. So, depression is not caused by a chemical imbalance. And again, as you all know, I have my notes that don't play. So it's not caused by a chemical imbalance or is not caused by low serotonin levels. So that is the recent headline, right? And this can kind of go in both ways. And let me know what you all think about this. Please engage with me in the conversation. But this is unfortunate because this is what patients, right, have been thinking all along. Like, I have a chemical imbalance. There's nothing that I can do about it. So I need medication for depression, especially if you have severe depressive symptoms. Um, and we're talking not able to get out of bed is really kind of impairing your functioning, not being able to get out of bed, not taking care of yourself as far as bathing, brushing your teeth, you're not eating, those types of things. You're not able to go to work, like those types of things, right? What we have been told is that there's a chemical imbalance in the brain and there's low serotonin levels. And so for those severe cases, these people have been prescribed medication. Now, don't get me wrong, right? Medication has helped some of those people. In some studies, it has shown that based on taking medication for depression and given the placebo, right? The medication has helped those patients. So there's a lot of factors that go into that, but this study was done by the University College in London, and they did a meta-analysis, which is essentially just a study of different studies. So they studied dozens and dozens and dozens of studies and saw that there was no association between low serotonin levels and having depression. And so what they found was actually published in a peer review journal. So a peer review is really kind of like the gold standard of psychological research, right? And so this is why it's such a headliner, because firstly it's peer reviewed, and then secondly it's in the headlines, right? Like, this is what we thought all along and now you want to tell us something different. So let's talk about it. So again, on one hand, you could be a person that thinks there's kind of two levels to this. And please let me know what you all think in the chat. But there's two levels to this. One is, I have a chemical imbalance and there's nothing I can do about it. Like, I can't help it. So I need medication. The second part is that you may be a person that, okay, there is something wrong with me. Like, it's my fault that I have depressive symptoms, or I have some type of defect. Right? So there are two ways to kind of look at it. And then on the other hand, you may think, okay, it's my fault. I have some type of defect. So medication is not going to help me, if that makes any sense, right? It's almost like it's just something wrong with me. Um, so you have people on those two spectrums. So, you know, 80 to 90% of people believe that they do have a chemical imbalance, right? So those people hearing this news about this study, what does that really mean for them? And this is why I say it's unfortunate, because do they stop taking their medication? I can bet you people are thinking that, like, I shouldn't even be taking this medication. But what I would say to that as a professional, I would caution you, right? Because people who take medication for depressive symptoms probably not only take it for that, right? Different medications can be used for different things. So please don't just discontinue your medication. When if people do that, it affects others in some ways, affects other people in other ways. You want to make sure you talk to your doctor about if you should do that or not. So don't just discontinue your medication. That's definitely a no-go, right? But of course, the question would be in one's mind, like, why have I been prescribed this medication, right? Especially if you think about people who have been taking it for a long period of time. I mean, you have patients who have been on medication for depression for years. And can you imagine the changes their body has probably gone through after years of taking medication? What changes the brain has gone through after taking medication? And now it's like, if they are encouraged by their doctor to, this applies to your situation, they can, stop the medication. Like, what will happen then as far as their brain chemistry, their thought process, symptoms, all kinds of stuff. So this is very interesting. This is very surprising to some people, but for others, it's not surprising. So my thing and my question was, I wrote here, what do we know, and what do we already know, right? Well, what we know as mental health professionals is that depression is multifaceted, right? There are many different factors that go into really diagnosing someone with depression. Now, there are different levels of depression as well. You've got your mild cases, you have major depression, you have major depression with different features, maybe, for example, of bipolar features, or, psychotic features, psychotic episodes, those types of things. So it's very multifaceted. And in my opinion, it depends on a lot of things. It depends on a lot of factors, whether for me as a mental health professional, if I would actually diagnose someone with that. Because, and I told you all before, I think on one of my first lives, you guys can go back and watch the replay, that I don't really like labeling, because there are so many factors and so many experiences people go through in life. It really doesn't, the label doesn't suffice, if that makes any sense, right? You've got to look at all the different factors and all the different things, their current experience, some of their past experiences that a person has gone through, to be able to really kind of get to the root cause of what's going on. Now, for example, let's take, let me go back. Taking medication, and as well as, because you'll hear a lot of doctors say this, taking medication and depending on your situation, and engaging in therapy, right, with a mental health professional is going to give you the best chances of getting better, of feeling like yourself again, of decreasing the symptoms, of learning how to manage symptoms. And this is for any diagnosis, right? Unless, right, you have that group of individuals who experience very extreme or severe symptoms where they may need to be hospitalized and things of that nature. But even hospitalization is primarily acute, right? It's an acute situation. So once they are stabilized outside of hospitalization, their doctor most likely is going to recommend therapy along with medication, right? And some people, after engaging in that therapeutic process and really doing the work, not looking for a quick fix or anything like that, really kind of delving into the work of how to effectively cope with what's going on or their situation, how to effectively manage their symptoms. Sometimes they're able to kind of wean off the medication, right? So I think one of the lessons is that we need to ensure that we are engaging in a therapeutic process. Um, with a mental health professional, because sometimes it's where you're going to find out and understand what the root cause is for what you're feeling or what situation you're in, and you're better able to learn strategies, effective strategies to manage that, right? So I think that's one of the lessons here. The second lesson is stop believing everything somebody tell you. You got to do your own research. You can't just, I don't care who it is. Now, listen, doctors are here for a reason. Doctors have saved people's lives. Psychiatrists have saved people as far as their thought process, right? And their thought process taking them to a whole nother place. Because if you hear a doctor or psychiatrist tell you, okay, listen, this is due to a chemical imbalance, like there's nothing you can really do about it. It's just how your brain set up, right? It's like, okay, now I feel better already because now I know what it is. Before I was confused, like, why am I thinking this way? Why do I feel like this? Why is it that I can't get out of the bed even though I feel like I'm trying? Why is it that I can't concentrate even though I'm trying? Why is it that I can't function on a daily basis even though I feel like I'm trying? Right? You go to the doctor, your doctor tells you, this is caused by chemical imbalance. It's like, oh, okay, that's what it is, right? But now you find out it's really not associated with that. Then what is it? This could potentially put some people back to that place, a low place, right? A place of feeling like, I don't know what's wrong with me. That place of feeling like that second group of people, right, that says it's me then. It's not the chemical imbalance, it's me, it's my fault. There's a defect, right? So this is good because we know the information now, right? And probably 2 years from now or 10 years from now, it'll be another study, right? But going back to, you can't believe everything someone tells you, you know, this chemical imbalance idea, right? This theory came from Big Pharma. And we all know the stories behind that, or what people think about that. You can find documentaries on Netflix and Hulu and all of this about Big Pharma, right? And it ultimately being all about moolah, right? In order for us to make money, we've got to come up with some kind of theory about what it really is, right? Because if you have a chemical imbalance, okay, now you need to take something to be able to change it, change the imbalance, or to be balanced now, right? And what is that? Medication. Well, people got to pay for medication, whether they pay for it through insurance, whether they, get a discount and pay for it. Either way, somebody is paying for the medication. And this study is not going to stop that. People are still going to take medication for depression, right? Think about it. People who have been seeing their primary care doctors, I've had clients who, have been seeing their primary care doctor for years, 25 years, 30 years, 20 years, 10 years. You think they're going to go against, they've obviously built a great rapport with their doctors. Because primary care doctors, of course, they prescribe medication for your mental health as well, right? um, Psychiatrists specialize in prescribing medication for only the mental health, but the primary care doctor is the first place people usually go because you have been treating with them for so long, right? And you think someone that has built a rapport with a doctor for years, right? They feel like they trust their doctor. They haven't steered them wrong yet, right? Um, that's who they go to if they have like a small issue, a cold or something. You think they're going to go against what they're saying and just stop taking the medication? Or if they, you know, talk to them about it, they're going to go against their advice? Because there are probably some primary care doctors in general, who don't agree with this, right? And they have patients, right? And their patients are not going to go against what they're telling them. Most of them probably won't. So this is again very interesting. Tell me, what do you all think about this study? Like, if you want to share your experience, do you feel like it is a chemical imbalance? Do you feel like this is right on target with it not being? This is what we already knew, right? So what we already knew, the first thing we talked about was that depression being multifaceted. And the second thing is that we know that depression is not anybody's fault, right? So even though this news has come out, you are prescribed medication for depression, right? Don't think that it's your fault. It is not. Again, there are different factors that kind of go into a person experiencing symptoms of depression. So it's not your fault. And like we talked about again, the third thing, like I said, chemical imbalance was supported by big pharma, right? They got to make money. They got to make money. That's just like, there are so many like kids, and I don't hate to bring this up, but there's so many kids that are given or are labeled for monetary purposes. And we can go deep, deep, deep into that conversation, but it's kind of like, that's why it's like, for me, on one hand, of course, I definitely, like, I believe in my profession. Like, I believe people need, medication helps certain people, right? There are certain instances where being diagnosed or having a label is needed, right? But on the other hand, I'm like, this don't have anything to do with the diagnosis. Like, this is not ADHD. This is not depression, right? So then again, my question, like, what is it? So let's talk about, before we get to that, I'll give you guys my opinion on what I think primarily it is. But before we get to that, let's talk about what depression is correlated with. So there are a lot of studies too that talk about depression being correlated with the nutrients that a person is lacking, right? And one of those sometimes is vitamin D. there are a lot of people who have low levels of vitamin D that experience depressive symptoms. Now, it may not be severe symptoms, but if you find that you improve your levels of vitamin D, your mood will go through the roof. Like just that one small thing, your mood is going to improve because you improved your levels of vitamin D. What else is depression correlated with? It could be correlated with gender, right? It could be correlated with the medication someone is taking for a medical issue, right? There are a lot of individuals who may have issues with their thyroid, right? Medical, that type of medical issue can bring about symptoms of depression. But there are some medications that help one thing, but then they suppress something else, or vice versa, right? So it could be the medication that you're taking for something else. Um, and again, it can also be correlated with medical issues. But there is really no single cause. So, you may have some people who are really trying to figure out, like, okay, well, what really, like, what is it? And sometimes that helps individuals to know specifically what is causing it. Because again, it makes you feel better. You can kind of pinpoint what the root cause is, and then you try to figure out how to manage it in that way. But there is no single cause, right? It's a accumulation of all of these different factors. um so why would you still take the medication? Now, again, you want to talk to your doctor. You want to make sure that it's the right choice for you to take it or not to take it. You really want to make sure you discuss that with your doctor. But what the medication usually does is help with brain neuroplasticity. Sorry about that, guys. And it helps to kind of heal the brain's kind of chemistry, right? So it may be helping with that factor. But you still want to make sure you talk to your doctor to ensure that it's the right choice for you to stop taking it, or to maybe wean yourself off of it, or to change the medication or something like that. This is why I always tell people too, because people get so hung up on medication that it's like, if you're in the group of people that really is relying on or thinks that it's a chemical imbalance and I need the medication, some people will take the medication until they think it's supposed to work, if that makes any sense. So the doctor will prescribe a certain medication and they'll say, oh, you may have some side effects, but the side effects will subside, right? But these side effects last weeks. But they'll still continue to take it because they're like, okay, but he said that I need it for the depression. Like, it's going to work. It's going to work. Don't do that. I don't recommend that. Like, if you're having a severe side effect, you need to call your doctor right away. And usually, what I've seen with clients who have been prescribed medication and also they're coming to therapy, if they've been prescribed a new medication specifically, the doctor will make an appointment in maybe 3 weeks instead of that month mark. Sometimes it may be 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, because they want to see how you're doing. Or if they don't make an appointment, they'll say, well, call the office, or they may have a really good doctor's office will have someone from their office staff call you to see how things are going, right? But when you go back to that appointment, whenever it is, the 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, you want to make sure that you let your doctor know what you've been experiencing as far as any changes since you have been taking that medication, right? Some people forget to tell the doctor what they are. Some people don't want to tell the doctor because they're in the mind frame of this is like par for the course for me to get better. But sometimes it's not, right? You need to ensure that your doctor knows what you have experienced, and also let them know, be transparent with your doctor about what other medications you have been taking while being prescribed this new one that they gave you. Because it could be that they need to change the dosage, they need to change the medication completely to a different one. Maybe they need to change the time that you take the medication. These things are important for your doctor to know because again, I mean, doctors, they aren't perfect. They don't know. I always tell people, you know your situation better than anybody. You know your body better than anybody. You know your symptoms better than anyone. So your doctor doesn't know everything. So it's important for you, even if you have to take notes, right? If you feel a little wonky or you feel like the depression is increasing the symptoms, like the frequency of the symptoms is getting worse, or now instead of feeling symptoms of depression, now you kind of feel symptoms of anxiety, like you're on edge, you are overly cautious now since taking them. Those are important things for your doctor to know because they can say, all right, well, maybe let's play with the dosage, because sometimes it takes a while to find the best dosage and the best medication for you. So ensure that you take notes and let your doctor know what you're experiencing when prescribed a new medication. Um, so yes, so what do I think, right? And who cares? I mean, I have everybody has an opinion, right? But as a professional, as a mental health professional, again, sometimes the label is necessary, but a lot of times it's it's your environment, right? And depression is made up of biological, psychological, and environmental factors. And most of the time, in my opinion, it is what you have learned from your environment. So, for example, if I'm coping if I'm not coping effectively, if the strategies that I have used to cope are not helping, or they're causing my situation to be even more severe, well, then let's look at how I learned how to cope, right? And what strategies have I learned? And where did I learn those strategies? Well, most of the time you can go back to the childhood, right? Where did you see someone, the ways that someone copes is how they saw their parents coping, right? If you have a parent, mom or dad, or a grandparent, or whomever raised you, right? You see them coping in a way, something, there was a challenge, they didn't have enough money to pay the bill or something like that. The way that they respond is the way that you're learning to respond to challenges. Think about it. And until you learn something different, or until you become emotionally intelligent or a little bit more self-aware, that is the same way that you are going to respond to challenges. Now, if they respond in a positive way, in a way that in that same situation, in a way that will allow them to problem solve, in a way that will allow them to, and I talked about this in my emotional intelligence video. Go back and watch the replay. I'm telling y'all, if they respond in a positive way of trying to problem solve, or coming from a logical standpoint instead of an emotional standpoint, they are teaching their children how to effectively cope with whatever is going on. It doesn't have to be just that challenge, but any challenge, right? Because that's what they see. That's what they're modeling for the child. So a lot of times it's our environment, right? How do when someone has wronged you or you feel like someone has wronged you, how do you respond? How do you react to things, right? It's by what we have seen people around us, how we've seen them react. We're going to do the same thing until we know different. Now, when it comes to that, when you know better, you do better. But there's some people who don't do better. Like you still holding on to those old ways, even though it's not working for you, it's not healthy, but you're still holding on to that. So a lot of times, when there are people who you're at a disadvantaged, or things are not going your way, or life is just lifing, the way that you cope with it, how you react to it, how you respond to it, right, will, in my opinion, will determine if you get to that depressive state, right? And then also, sometimes I feel like people put the how do I say this? People put depression on themselves by labeling the situation in that way. If you're on the replay, please leave a comment and let me know if you guys feel what I'm saying, if you understand what I'm saying, because some people will say, I'm so depressed. But if you say that, then you're going to get to that place. You see what I'm saying? Oh, things don't ever go right for me. Like, it's your words. And this is probably going on a tangent and can go down a whole different road, but your words are putting you into that situation. Like, if you feel that it is going to be a depressive situation, or you say that it's going to be that way, then it's going to be that way. you know Changing the thought process, changing the perspective of it. Like, okay, this is going to be a challenge. Let me think about how to solve the challenge, right? What can I do or this is going to be a challenge. I'm going to have to go through this challenge, but it's going to be better on the other side, right? To me, you're less likely to be in that low state because you're setting yourself up for to win, right? Either way, even if it doesn't go your way, you're still thinking of, okay, if it doesn't go this way, then this is what I'm going to do. You're in that problem solving state instead of the state of negativity or pessimism or being cynical about things, right? If you continue to think negatively, then you're going to have a negative situation, right? If you continue to think that you're going to have your things are not going to go your way, then they're not going to go your way. You have control over this. So again, even if it doesn't go, if you're thinking positively and you change those thoughts and say, okay, I can see this is going to be a challenge, or even going through it. Okay, this part of it is challenging, but once I get through this, it's going to be a breeze. You're less likely to be in that depressive state. Now, mind you, it's easier said than done, because, and I know people, right? And I've been there myself, like, when life is lifing, like, it seems like it doesn't stop. It's like one thing after the other, one thing after the other, turn down after turn down, turn down after turn down, right? Um, Things are not happening as you expected, over and over and over. And it's like, I can't catch a break. Right. So ultimately you get into that place because you haven't seen something that's kind of that will pull you out of it. Like, there's essentially like no hope, right? But you got to continue to push yourself and motivate yourself and inspire yourself to think differently. And it is a challenge. It is so hard to do that. But if you do it consistently and you give yourself grace during the times that you may not necessarily, because it's not going to be perfect all the time where you're thinking positively, right? On the times that you don't, give yourself some grace. Oh, okay, I didn't handle that well. The next time, or let me start from where I am. Let me meet myself where I am, and then let's move forward. Right. So I think sometimes, it's your environment, where you learned it, how you learned it, right? That's how you're going to naturally respond and react and, problem solve with different situations, right? Um, and then also other factors include, if you have any trauma, stress is a big one. If there's any social issues, things like that. There are so many different things that are happening that could easily put someone in that state. But it's kind of like, and myself included, like I see stuff on social media, you worry about your children, things like that. And it's like, are you going to live your life that way though? Like, or are you going to try to enjoy it and find some type of joy every day? Right. So I think it's based on, the environment. It's hard to get to a point where you recognize that you are reacting, responding in a way that's ineffective. Um, but once you get to that point, once you recognize it, you're like, you know what? Where did I learn it from? Like that's not working. Like that ain't gonna work for this situation. Like I can't be just laying in the bed because something didn't go my way. I can't just be laying in the bed days at a time. Like I can't just not bathe. Like I can't just not cook myself something to eat. And you know what I mean? Like once you're able to recognize it, then you're able to kind of change your behavior and your thought process. So I think that that's what it is. Like, again, Medicaid, depression is multifaceted. I think there, like we've already known, a lot of different factors. It's not just one cause. There are a lot of factors that kind of go into it. And also, again, don't just stop taking your medication. Make sure you check with your doctor. So let me know what you guys think about that. If you're watching the replay, leave me a comment, subscribe if you feel so inclined to. I appreciate you all. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will catch you all on the next one. Bye.